Hello and welcome to the AgriHQ Livestock Insight report brought to you by the AgriHQ analysts. I'm Sarah Friel and I'm going to really quickly run you through the top 3 insights from last week's North Island and South Island Livestock Insight reports. So let's dive right into it. And insight 1 for last week was the shift in alert levels for the rest of the country while Auckland remained in level 4, and what consequences that has for local trade operators. With the country in split levels, in the North Island there's not a lot of dedicated local trade plants outside of Auckland, so increased demand in the local market south of the super city does pose supply chain issues with getting product out of Auckland and also just getting through the kill in that region. This is especially true since challenging weather conditions in Northland have oversupplied plants with light heifers best suited to the local trade market. So there is about a 2-week backlog on local trade at the moment. However, in the South Island, with the change of alert levels, there was more competition for local trade stock because most of that processing is situated in Canterbury. So we saw a range of about 50 cents a kilo into that market, just as different companies went into procurement drive. So we do see that the North Island is missing out on that procurement a wee bit just because of those added challenges with getting product out through the super city into the rest of the regions. Now, if we move on to the second insight, we did see some firming in the lamb slaughter market with the expectation in both islands that there could be an extra 10 cents a kilo out for farmers this week. But there are some headwinds that are causing concern for processors. Reportedly, margins are really tight despite high export lamb values, and this is due to exorbitant shipping costs and rising wages to maintain a skilled workforce in those plants. Plus, there's the added cost of having to socially distance workers, and that takes capacity off a wee bit. So there are some concerns that it's going to be even tighter processing during that peak period when everyone offloads lambs at once. So the advice from processors is really clear. If you've got those heavier lambs that you can draft off now and get off crop, definitely worthwhile doing so and just getting through them while you can before it gets a bit more complicated later in the season, especially if we are still socially distancing. And if we move on to the third insight, that was that sale yards reopened with a hiss and a roar in the North Island. Despite only having about 15 people at some of those sales, we still saw some pretty strong competition for stock. The South Island decided to just hold off for a week and they'll be back up and running with sale yards this week. Now, at Fielding and Stortford Lodge on Wednesday, over 4,000 lambs were traded, and there were some very heavy lambs on offer with up to 60 kg pens offered at Fielding, and prices hit over $200 in most cases, up to $250 for Stortford Lodge pens. And this is just the last chance for farmers to top up, really, especially ahead of some pretty strong contracts still on offer and being made available for the springtime. In the paddock, there was also a lot of demand for those 34 to 35 kilo lambs, which can be turned around pretty quickly for a lighter carcass weight offload. Anything more around 30 to 31 kilos, however, was pretty hard shifting because those ones will just take that bit longer to get ready. And in terms of cattle at the Fielding sale yards, we saw about 400 cattle trade on Friday to very similar levels as to what was already happening in the paddock as interest peaks a bit more to get in ahead of that spring boom that everyone's expecting. So at this stage, the market is very settled and could do with a bit of a lift, but that is quite constrained by feed levels throughout the country. So those are the top 3 insights for last week's North Island and South Island Livestock Insight reports. If you'd like to get more of this content, head along to agrihq.co.nz and subscribe to the Livestock Insight reports, and that'll all be in your inbox by Friday.